Good morning, everyone. Today is Friday, December 31st, aka New Year's Eve, and we are back again with the Muffed Punt Podcast. I'm here with Matthew Sargent. Matthew, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. I'm excited to get into it.
Yeah, absolutely. Matt is out sick today. Obviously, with the virus going around everywhere, just stay safe during the holiday season. Try and be smart, but whatever. So obviously not a lot to talk about today. Big things to talk about today, I guess what I would describe it with that. But first, kind of overall bowl season, how have you really, how much have you watched? How much of it has been interesting? What have you thought of the bowl season thus far?
Every year I go into it and I tell myself I'm going to watch every game that comes on. And I watch most of them. I do a good bit. But there's a few I've missed this year. But of the ones I've seen, I don't feel like talking about the Gasparilla Bowl. We're not
Yeah,
going to
no, we're not going to talk. We need a full episode to talk about that. We'll talk about that next week or whenever we do our preview for the national championship. You're not off the hook yet, but you're off the hook for this week.
Okay, all right.
You're safe for the rest of 2021. 2022, it's a new year.
Great, so I got a day.
Yeah.
Well, I'll take today and UAB versus BYU. Really great game, I thought. And then I was actually watching Houston versus Auburn. It has not been a great bowl season for the SEC. And you know me, I'm a big SEC guy. So it's been tough. But it's also been really exciting to see a lot of these lesser-known programs go out there and beat teams like Auburn. I mean,
Yeah.
Houston's not necessarily a lesser-known G5. They're kind of the top of the G5. But
I know exactly what you're saying from like a Power 5 conference, a team that's been really – yeah, my first takeaway from this bowl season is I'm also in the same boat as you. I tell myself I'm going to watch every game. I usually catch a little bit of every game, but I definitely don't sit down and watch all of them. I've been pretty disappointed in bowl season. There have been quite a few lopsided results. Last night had two great games, though, so that was awesome. But overall, I mean, it's bowl season. It's still football. It's still better than the NBA, and it's still better than Major League Baseball. So I'm fine with that. But, yeah, and then when I was doing like the spreads and the over-unders for yesterday's game, when I was texting you guys, I knew that what's Michigan State's running back's name?
Kenneth Walker.
I knew he was out for Michigan State, so I was like, I got to take Pitt. Completely forgetting that Kenny Pickett wasn't playing. I turned on the game. I was like, at first I was like, oh my gosh, like he got hurt. Like this is going to go, like people are going to lose their minds that he even played. But yeah, he didn't play. So that was definitely a wrong pick on my part. That game was pretty exciting. Michigan State sealed it at the end with a pick six. But the most exciting game, maybe thus far, was Tennessee versus who'd they play yesterday? Tennessee versus Purdue. Tennessee versus Purdue.
I wanted to say Wake Forest because I had the colors in my mind.
Yeah, the colors right.
Yeah, didn't play.
Yeah, it's Purdue, Wake Forest, and like Vanderbilt. They're all like the black and greenish, goldish. But that was a good game. Tennessee should have won, but it's not a big deal. But I thought that could be a huge stepping stone for their program going forward. But the game, I don't know how much you watched of it. I mean, Tennessee's first two touchdowns were two like 60-yard passes, just simply because Purdue didn't have enough players on the field. He would just like come on and run down the sideline and be wide open. And then the other game yesterday, South Carolina, North Carolina. I think what we saw from North Carolina is just a team that was ready to be done with this season. They're sick of the weight off their shoulders. Sam Howell's sick of the weight on his shoulders. In South Carolina, hopefully, I mean, I don't know how well it bodes going forward, but Frank Beamer not Frank Beamer, his son, Sean Beamer, whatever his name is, Shane Beamer. But he's done well first year. So I've liked that. And obviously, yeah, they were going back and forth between quarterbacks yesterday. But yeah, some games have been exciting, but I've been a little less excited about some of the blowout games. And you're kind of seeing it with like all these guys pulling out now. And I don't really want to get into that right now because that's more just a personal thing and it's kind of politicizing things. But yeah, it's been a weird bowl season, but Yeah. And then before we get started, I guess when you look at each game, the two semifinals, what is like your first thought on each game? Just like you look at the games and what are your thoughts?
Well, I think Georgia, Michigan, my first thought is it's probably going to be a lot closer than I think some people are expecting. My thought for Alabama, Cincinnati is probably the polar opposite. I'm not really expecting a real game out of the two of them.
I will bet on Cincinnati, knowing full well that they're not going to win. But I'm trying to convince myself that it'll be a game at least through a half, which I think they're capable of doing. I think if Cincinnati played their best game this season, they're capable of staying in the game with Alabama. I still think Desmond Ridder is a good quarterback, and he's not going to get phased by pressure. But then again, pressure from Will Anderson's a little different than, I don't know, whoever Houston's sending at him. I think that game might be close for a half. And the other one, I'm completely opposite of you. I think it's going to be a blowout. I think Georgia's going to kill them. But we'll get into the games in 1 second. Let's go over some stuff first. All right, so these are the standings. I think they're through about like 10 days ago, so there's 10 games in between. I think, Matthew, you're now in second place. Matt is, I mean, the first weekend of bowl season, Matt went like 0-4, so it was not a good start for him, but whatever. And we've been picking most of the games, and I don't know if you guys saw it, but I sent out a spreadsheet with it all in it. I sent it to you in the sheets. I'll send it out again if you don't want to, but so we'll be picking the rest of the games as well. We'll probably pick our games today as well because there are a couple of games today. And then, the other major point I want to bring up before we get into the two games, these bowl cancellations. It seems like everybody's just one side or the other. Personally, I don't really get into it because I just don't like arguing about it. I don't know. What are your thoughts on the cancellations?
It's kind of a two-sided coin. If you have to cancel because of the virus, then by all means do that if that's what needs to happen for the player's health. But I still think we're seeing a lot of the symptoms of just, kids who grew up as part of a generation that doesn't value bowl games as much because of how much emphasis we've put on the playoff and now talking about expanding the playoff. That's really only going to get worse. And eventually bowl games aren't going to mean anything because the New Year's Six games, the Rose Bowl, the Fiesta Bowl, the Peach Bowl, they'll all be playoff games every year. So I don't love the direction that it's heading in, but I can't sit here and really tell you I have a solution either.
Yeah, and I don't even know if it's there's a solution to it. One of the other site I write for, Flurry, guy on it, he tweeted the other day, he was like, can you imagine not playing in the Rose Bowl? Like not even in the Rose Bowl. And because I think, first of all, I'll say it right away. I'm not excited for the Rose Bowl at all. I don't want to see Ohio State play Utah. That's not a game I want to see. But obviously, Olave and Garrett Wilson are out. They're just going to the pros. And so he tweeted that, and I talked to him later. I was kind of like, yeah, like it's just not worth it for a guy like Garrett Wilson or Chris Olave, who are going to be first-round picks, to just go play one random game that literally doesn't mean much at all. Like, and you used to see that with the Rose Bowl. Like, people would play in the Rose Bowl, and I still think most of the time a lot of the kind of iffy players do play. But yeah, you're completely right. Going to a 12-team playoff, I don't think you can eliminate a postseason outside of the 12-team playoff because then college football would just go bankrupt, I think. But yeah, it's not good. And I'm not going to get into the whole COVID thing, but it sucks. I feel bad for the teams that went out to Hawaii and Hawaii canceled the night before. So I feel bad for it. I don't really feel that bad that the Barstool Bowl got canceled. It was going to be on YouTube. It's weird, but it's just been a weird thing. And you have all these writers coming out saying these certain things. Clay Travis won't shut up about everything. But hopefully we get to the games today without many key players lost, which I guess we'll hop right into the Georgia-Michigan game. One of the biggest things for Michigan, I don't know if you saw it, Daxton Hill, their starting safety, he was a 5-star coming out of high school. He's pretty damn good. he is not in Miami right now. He did not fly with the team. I guess his status is iffy. So I don't know when they test the last time. I assumed they probably tested the last time last night because it would make no sense to do it this morning if you actually want to have games. But yeah, you're the SEC guy. I'll let you take it away from Georgia's perspective. Like I said, I hope both of these games are close because I kind of hate how the college football has, has a stranglehold on our New Year's Eve, because if the games are bad, it's like the night ruined. So, but yeah, I'll let you take it away from there. I don't know. I guess I'll start with, are you still going with Stetson Bennett? I believe nothing's come out that JT Daniels is playing, so I assume it's Stetson Bennett. How do you think he's going to fare against the Michigan defense?
I'm not terribly worried about Stetson Bennett in this situation. I was really upset with just a lot of the coverage afterwards being, we pull out Stetson Bennett, we put in JT, we win that Alabama game, because that's just foolish. I've never been the biggest Stetson Bennett fan. I spent probably the first half of the season waiting for him to get pulled out before I realized it just wasn't going to happen. I don't think it's going to come down to him versus Michigan, though. I think really the pressure point in this game is going to be Michigan's ability to run the ball. Georgia's relied pretty heavily on that run defense, and they've done really well, with the exception of pretty much one game. So I'm curious to see. I mean, Michigan, we're talking about the best offensive line probably in college football. I know they won the Joe Moore. Is that it? The Joe Moore? I feel like I got that wrong. The big offensive line award they give out.
Yeah,
it's like,
go ahead, keep going. I'll figure it out. I know what you're talking about.
So I'm curious to see how the Michigan running game can get off the ground with that. Obviously, I don't think Blake Corum's going to be playing in this game, but we will be seeing Hassan Haskins again, who did really well in that Ohio State game. Whatever they're able to do in the run game, because I don't know how much you can count on Cade McNamara. I think that's really the quarterback who's probably going to struggle the most in this game. Whether or not he's going to get time, we'll see.
It is, you were right, it's Joe Moore. Joe Moore award. Michigan did win it. And me and you have been kind of the same for most of for the last, I would say 2-3 months now, that Stetson Bennett should just be in. Like, he's gotten them here. There's no reason to pull him now. So I think we're both in the same boat on that. And Michigan's offensive line, they are really good, but I just don't know. You could say whatever you want. There's a difference between Jordan Davis and the guy Ohio State's putting up the middle. Now, is it a huge difference? No, but it's a difference. Like, I don't know that they're going to be able to handle Jordan Davis and those linebackers. And if I'm Georgia and I'm the Lanning guy is their defensive coordinator. He's going to Oregon. I believe he's still calling the game today. The game today, and then hopefully in the national championship. I think they're going to send all kinds of. I think they're going to send all kinds of pressure at Cade McNamara, and I completely agree with you as well. I think Cade McNamara can't. If Georgia wins the game, if they force Cade McNamara to try and beat them, if Cade McNamara has to be the one to beat Georgia, I think Georgia's in pretty good shape. And then the offense, I agree. I think it'll be a rather low-scoring game. And I just don't know how they're going to be able to run Blake Corum and Hassan Haskins. That's the only way I see them winning or staying in this game, is if they can get off to a hot start. And like, if Michigan jumps out 14-0, or even 10-0, that's huge for them, because that means they can just sit and actually run and play defense. Whereas I think that's also what Georgia wants to do, but Georgia can keep up with most really good offensive teams, I think. So I don't know. Let's go into our predictions for this one. Explain whatever you want. Georgia, Michigan kickoffs 7:30 tonight on ESPN. Who you got, Matthew? And the score. MVP.
And a score.
And MVP.
Okay, interesting. I don't know that I like this as much, but I'm going to say I'll take Georgia to win. I think I'm going to be watching the game with Michigan fans tonight, actually, so I hope they're not watching this. But I'm going to take Georgia to win, but I'm going to take Michigan to cover. I think it's 7.5 points.
Yep.
So maybe this goes the likes of 24-31, right around there.
I like your thinking there. I like it. I can't believe what I had. I had something written down. Yeah, I think it's going to be a low scoring game. And you know what? I think this game is going to, you know what? I think this game is almost going to be mirrored to is the Georgia Clemson game in week 1. I think it's going to be both defenses just like, and at this point, I won't hate watching that. I would be interested in watching that. So, but I agree. I think Georgia wins. I think they win 27-13. I think they cover. I just don't know how Michigan's going to be able to score. I just don't. I like Ohio State's defense was historically bad this year. And yes, they ran it on them and they did everything they wanted to against them. Georgia's defense is literally historically good this year. So I agree. And I think we're kind of on the same page other than the covering, but I think it'll be a rather low scoring game, not one of these, 59-38 games. So, but yeah, MVP. Go ahead. Keep going. Go ahead.
That might, I'm just going to use that to tie into this, actually. I'm going to go ahead and set my MVP as Brock Bowers tonight.
Okay.
But the reason I'm doing that is actually to highlight some of what Georgia's missing on the perimeter. Even if Pickens is able to come back and play in this game, I know they said it was like a false positive and he's tested like 3 more times. So I'll have to check his status again before the game.
If he does play, I don't think he'll either play very much or I don't think he's going to have huge impact because they haven't been like practicing with him.
He had like 1 reception even when he did play against Alabama. So
shout out to Matt. That's your wide receiver 1 in the draft. Yeah, real smart, buddy.
I don't see them really being able to play a whole bunch of catch up if they do get behind early. Maybe it can kind of be a slow burn where if the game took 5 quarters, Georgia would win it. But if they're going to get cut off at the end of 4 and Georgia finds themselves down early, I don't know that they have the speed to get themselves back into it as fast as they might have to.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. Like I said, there's not a world in my mind where I see Michigan being able to run the ball. And then if Cade McNamara has like the game of his career, then yeah, I guess sure Michigan can win. But I think I like Georgia. I think they cover. And I've been taking. I will probably also bet the under as well. I've been taking Georgia in the under every single week for the past like 20 weeks, or at least the regular season. I think I probably even took it in the SEC championship. So I'm going to keep doing that. That's really one of the only things that has worked for me this year. So yeah, I'm excited for it though. That's going to be a good one. But let's hop into the first one, which if you think back to all the playoffs, usually the first game is kind of a blowout, I feel like. Yeah, I don't know. I just remember 2014, it was Florida State and Oregon, and Jameis had the pass that went over his head. So, whatever. But let's get into Alabama-Cincinnati, a game I think we're probably pretty close on, or not pretty close, like same opinion, but you're kind of an Alabama guy, a Florida guy, but I like Cincinnati. But I'll start out with this one, and I'll say I think Cincinnati can stay with them for a half if Sauce Gardner is able. Well, I'm not even going to say Sauce Gardner. Sauce Gardner and Kobe Bryant are very good corners. They're 2 of the best corners in the country. Sauce Gardner didn't get enough balls thrown at him to be at any awards, and Kobe Bryant won the Thorpe. So, and them being in Alabama being without Menchie does worry me a little bit. However, I think Bryce Young has finally found his groove. He's going to be really good for the next couple of years. It's going to suck. But I would say it's close at halftime for me, but I think Alabama runs it away in the second half. And the matchup I'm super excited to see. And I'm one of those weird guys, because I used to play corner when I played football 50 years ago. So I like to watch, like when Jalen Ramsey plays, I like to watch just the one-on-one battles. I'm very excited to watch Jameson Williams. It would not surprise me with Menchie being out if they boxed him in. If they boxed him in with Gardner like covering over him and having a safety over top, because we haven't really seen a lot of the other Alabama receivers. And I think the key to the game for Cincinnati is limiting big plays. Big plays. If they can not have the big play happen, if Alabama is going on like 10-play drives or whatever, that's better than them scoring on 60-yard touchdowns. So if Cincinnati can stop the big play, which isn't easy, but isn't easy, I think they can stay in the game. I don't know. What about you, Matt?
Well, I came on and I talked about how I think Alabama is going to run away with it, and I do think that they do. But imagining the scenario in which Cincinnati wins, the things I would use for that argument would be that Alabama has a really bad tendency to play down to competition this year. Yeah. And when you combine that with Cincinnati's ability to kind of win these scrappy, close games late in the fourth quarter, kind of like Oklahoma, but I guess in a better way, that could spell disaster for Alabama tonight. Do I think it does? Maybe there's like a 4 to 5% chance of that happening. But that's the story that I think unravels if we are going to see Cincinnati win. I think it's just going to be Alabama doesn't really, go into that next gear until too late in the game. And Cincinnati's able to hold on just by a handful of points.
Yeah, see, I agree with you. I think they come out a little bit slow, but I think they hit that second gear not late. I think they hit that second gear like right after halftime, and it's it's just a blowout from there. Also, I do have to say about all these Alabama players, I don't know if you've seen any of their media day stuff. Like Alabama, you're not underdogs. You're favorite to win the national championship.
It's very Clemson of them.
Bryce Young, who was like the number one recruited quarterback like 2 years ago, was like, everyone's always doubted me. It's like, dude, no one's doubted you. You're now starting at Alabama. Like, we all think you're good. And then Will Anderson said the same thing, like they're underdogs. I was like, I don't know. It's just funny. I was just like, you guys clearly aren't underdogs. You maybe were 1 or 3, 4 weeks ago against Georgia, but that was the only time it's going to happen. And it's probably the only time it's going to happen for the next 2 years. So,
it's very
I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, for them to go through the whole season, kind of start slow, ramp up at the end, and they'll probably run straight through the playoffs and win everything and tell everyone they were underdogs the whole time.
Yeah,
they've been reading Dabo's how-to manuals.
Well, I mean, we could talk. We'll be able to do more Dabo and recruiting and stuff down the line. But I have to say, it's not looking good for Clemson. If you look at. I don't think they brought in any transfers. He basically what Dabo's doing is I'm getting off track, but Dabo is just refusing to just not follow the transfer rules, but he's just refusing to believe that the transfer portal exists. So whatever. So all right, what do you got for the score and MVP of the game? Alabama's favored by 13.5. I think the over-under is 57.5. I'll let you start.
I'll let Bama barely cover here. Maybe like 49-35.
49-35. Okay. Yeah, I like that. I'm gonna be nice, and I'm gonna say it's 21-17 Bama at halftime. Then I think they run away with it. I think it's 42 to 31, and I'll have Cincinnati covering. But I even if that is only a good game for a half, I'm still excited for it. I think we did really get. I mean, even outside my Michigan bias, I still think Ohio State's better. It's nice that we have Georgia, Michigan, and new blood, and Georgia, Michigan, and Cincinnati. It's just nice to have new blood. It's nice that it's not Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State in your random fourth team, which is not really a random team. It's usually just Notre Dame or Oklahoma. So,
we finally got a G5 in the playoffs, and now we don't have to expand it, right?
Yeah. Well, I will say, if anything, do you remember the Big 12 championship game, that last play where the guy pushed him out of bounds Baylor couldn't or Oklahoma State couldn't score?
Yes.
I don't think Cincinnati's in the playoff if that doesn't happen, because I think Oklahoma State goes in over Cincinnati. So yeah, like I said, before we do our next time when we do our national championship preview, we'll obviously go over a couple different moments from the year, our favorite moments, things like that. And then next week, or when we do the preview, we'll probably also do maybe a preseason for next year, top 5. But I think that's going to be it for today. It's New Year's Eve. Everyone, don't drink and drive. Don't be an idiot. Worst night to do it. And hopefully these games are good. Yeah, Matt, anything?
We got to give out like an Uber promo code or something next time we do that.
Yeah. Uber code JB.
Just go download it. Yeah.
Yeah, JB15. And download it. Yeah, download the Uber. Yeah.
You'll get absolutely nothing for free.
It would be.
You won't go to jail tonight. So
yeah, it would be. It would be a nightmare to be an Uber driver tonight. But whatever. All right. Well, Matthew, have a happy New Year.
Money don't make money.
That's true. Have a happy New Year, and we'll see you guys all probably next week.
All right, you have a good one, man.
Let's rock.